let's get started. I'm Chef Don McMillan, and we're going to make the perfect fresh blueberry pie. Fresh blueberries. We're going to make a homemade fresh blueberry pie. I tell you what, it's going to take you back to memories when Grandma used to make it. It's going to be oh so good. Oh, I just can't wait to share this with you. So please, if you ever have a comment that you'd like to share with us, let us know if you ever made a blueberry pie or some of the things that you found in making them. Maybe you have some suggestions and we can share. I would love to do that. As well, definitely want you to subscribe, because when you do, you'll see how we made the perfect pie crust. We made one from lard, another one from butter. You gotta see those. As well as we got more pie recipes and so many other wonderful things coming up. So let's get started. I'm Chef Don McMillan, and we're gonna make the perfect fresh blueberry pie. Well, you know, I said we're making memories. When you make memories, some of the things that you do is to share, okay? So you're probably thinking that you cook, well, I cook with my mother, I cook with my grandmother, I cook with my dad, my granddad. I like to cook with younger people. It really makes me feel good that I could share that memory, and then I know they're gonna take that when they have children of their own and they'll share it. One of the things I like to do is to take them around the world, because you know, here in this country, we have to identify where our food comes from. Now, it doesn't have to identify us in the United States, but they almost always tell you that, because, you know, it may come from somewhere else. So I was just looking at, you know, where does blueberries come from? Where's the lemon come from? And by looking at the label, we see on here that it's USA. Sometimes I find from Chile, okay, Peru, Mexico, so many wonderful places around the world. Share that with your children when you're cooking, okay? And please stick around, because I got more tips, and let me know in the comments if you've ever done something like this, or maybe you just want my take on it, okay? So, fresh blueberries. You didn't see me open up any cans, crack any packages open. Here's what we got. And they're gorgeous. Look at these big, beautiful. This is, well, while we're shooting this now, it's blueberry season, so we're getting lots of them. By the way, where do these blueberries come from? Well, wouldn't you know, United States. Let's put some of those in here too, okay? That's only because I've been snacking before you guys started watching. So let's get some more in there. Cornstarch. I've got 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. This is going to take all those juices. When these blueberries hit the hot oven, they're gonna burst open. There's gonna be lots of juice coming out of them. I need to tighten that up. Cornstarch is gonna do that. A couple of tablespoons of cornstarch. Sugar. It's gonna form a syrup. The juices are going to come out, and by the way, these blueberries are really sweet, but I'm going to add in half a cup of sugar. Now, I like to add a little tartness when I make my fruit pies. You know this yin and yang thing? So when you're exciting people's palates, you've got to make that palate, you know, make the food sing so that it excites your palate and gives you something to come back to. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take this lemon, and whether you know it or not, I'm going to show you the flavor from the citrus fruit is in the skin. Not inside the fruit, but on the outside. We're going to take this, and we're going to take our zester, and we're going to dis-zest a little bit of the skin from the outside of our lemon. All right, and then we just get the zest. We don't need all of it. Be careful you don't get the pith on the inside. That's bitter. All right, now, when you zest the lemon, you'll see where the zest comes up. Right in there is where it comes out. And let's just tap it. Get all of that in there. And now I do want some of the lemon juice in there. So what I'm going to do is take my lemon, just roll it a little bit, make it juicy. Cut off the ends right here. And right here, and cut it right down through the center, like that. And I'll show you why I did that, because with my juicer, I'm going to extract a lot of juice. So here's the first squeeze, and then pick it up, flip it over, and the second squeeze, watch how much more juice comes out. So if you have a juicer like that, I advise you to cut the ends off. You'll get much more juice from it. Now, let's go ahead and mix this in there together. You want to do this because if you just leave little clumps of the cornstarch in there, you'll have balls of starch, and that is so horrible. We don't want that at all. So give it a good mix, and don't worry about bruising. The blueberries, they're going to all pop open inside that hot oven. Before we roll the dough out, let's get our oven on because we want a preheated oven. So I'm going to go and turn my oven on to 425. I'm Chef Don McMillan, and I'm ready to roll out the dough. In our previous video, we showed you how to make the perfect pie dough. Now we're going to show you how to put this pie dough to work. Okay? First of all, you knew I put it into plastic wrap and in the refrigerator so it would chill. We don't want pie dough that has been heated from our hands, and we want the fat to be cold so when it's cooking it'll just, oh my goodness, make it so flaky. Let's throw down a little bit of flour. I am using all-purpose flour. Place our, right there in the center, that's our dough. Let's put a little bit of flour on our rolling pin, and we're just going to roll. Now when you roll, this is important. We're going to roll from the center to the edge, come back, center to the edge. Don't do this back and forth. You can turn the dough center to the edge like that if you wish, but we're not going back and forth. So there's the pressure, no pressure, pressure. Come around, same thing. We're going to roll this dough till it's big enough to cover the bottom of our pie dish. You can, if you wish, flip it over and roll the other side. Now you see why we wanted to have it in a round shape, because when we're rolling it, it will keep the shape before we put it into the pie tin. Now remember, I told you I was going to give you lots of good tips. One of the things you want to remember is less is best. So consequently, we are not going to re-roll the pie dough, but if you have any scraps, you can do like my mother and grandmother did. They made something called puppy dog tails, which is the pie dough crust that is sprinkled with a little bit of butter and cinnamon sugar. If you see a little hole like that, just patch it right back up. Okay? Now, we want it to be pretty much of an even amount. I usually put my hand on there and just feel if there's any parts that are a little bit higher than the other. It will be indicated with my hand. Now, how do you know this is big enough for your pie dough pan? You do know because you do this. You take your pie dough pan and you place it. If you see that there's enough dough all the way around, then you know that you have rolled it out sufficiently. I'm just going to give a little bit more to this edge, and this edge here. And then I'm going to show you how to put the dough into the pan. First of all, we're going to take it. Let's take your scraper and release the dough from the bottom of your board or your table. And then you're going to fold it in half. And you bring your pie pan to the dough. You don't bring the dough to the pie pan. You're going to take this half and you're going to place it right there in half of your pan like this. And now what you're going to do is bring it forward, and then with the backs of my finger I just tuck it all the way around. You'll notice that I didn't grease the pan. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of fat in the dough. It's already greased. No need to do that. Now you see I have a scalloped edge here. So what I'm going to do is to take some of the extra dough that I have here, and I'm just going to share it. This is going to be the bottom layer. We're going to put another layer on top so you don't have to worry about how it's going to look, because it'll just be inside. So the next job is to fill your pie, and we have our blueberries that we've just filled with all this goodness: sugar, cornstarch, okay, and our lemon juice and lemon zest. Let's go ahead and place that into the pie. Get it all in there, don't leave anything out. Okay. Now, let me distribute it. Okay. Now, one of the tricks I'm going to show you, when you're making blueberry pie, it's very juicy. It's going to be bubbly. It's going to actually want to explode unless you give it some room. So I'm going to take my little bird here, called a pie bird. See how it developed right into here? And then there's a little hole there. So what happens, this goes right here in the center of the pie. I'm just putting those blueberries underneath it. And then just push your blueberries around it. And we're going to put the pie dough over the bluebird. Well, actually it's a red bird, isn't it? We're gonna put our blueberry filling over the red bird, and our pie bird is actually going to keep the juices and everything inside the pie, as well as when we bake it, it's going to just be divine. Okay, let's put this off to the side just for a minute because we need to roll the top layer. We're going to put some more flour down, and we're going to flour our rolling pin and take out our top part for our pie. And again, as I said before, you start at the center and you roll out. Center, roll out, move it, and you just keep repeating it until you have the dough rolled out to the sufficient shape of the pie. This particular recipe that I've shared with you are good for pies that are 9-inch as well as smaller pies. Be sure it's not sticking to the bottom here. So remember, not this and not a lot of pressure. You just need some to move the dough. It will be odd shape on the ends. You can patch it together if you wish. Trust me, it'll all come out just wonderful. Put a little more flour on my tin. Okay, we rolled out our dough to the right size. Remember I told you to measure it, and the way we measure it is to place our pie pan and see if it covers it, and it does it perfectly. And the recipe I've given you for the pie dough in our previous show works perfect for a pie this size. So if you've got a 9-inch pie, it works great. Now, how to get the pie dough on the pie. My tip is to fold it in half, and then you see where this crease is? I use my dough scraper, or you can use a knife to make slots like that, right in the center. Then you bring the pie dish to the dough, not the other way around. If you do, sometimes the pie dough will just break up in your hand and you've got a mess. The next thing is to bring it and put it in there halfway in. And you see I have my little bird there right in the center, so that's my little tip. Fold your dough over the bird. Like that. And remember I told you the reason for the bird is when this recipe cooks up, it will release all of that pent-up air that's inside there and cause it to be much better. If you didn't do that, it really would bubble over. It'll knock the top pie crust off and it'd be just a big mess. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to flute the edge of our pie dough. You could use a fork, but this particular dish is already fluted, so let me just take my 2 fingers and then just squish it right around the top. Just squish it around. And we'll cut that excess dough off in just a minute. And any of this excess dough, don't use it for another pie, but I would just roll it out, put a little bit of cinnamon sugar on it, and share it with those young ones that you're working with to make this a memorial event or a big dish that we'll be talking about for years. Here's the dough. We're going to make it look colorful. Here's another wonderful tip. I like doing an egg wash. Egg wash, very simple, is 1 egg. Always crack an egg on a flat surface, not on the edge. This way you get the shell divided in half. Place it into the bowl, and then about a tablespoon of cold water. And then with a fork, just go ahead and beat it together till it's incorporated. And using a pastry brush, you want to paint your pie dough. Be sure you get it all around the edges. And this will give it a beautiful brown color instead of a dull color. And as I said, this is a great dish to work with a young person. They will love doing things like this, and of course they can't wait for it to come out of the oven, and that's an important part as well. But more than that, you're creating memories that last for lifetimes, not only theirs, but their children as well. Okay. Okay, get all the little edges that you missed. There. Now, the next hint I want to share with you, and I think this is very important. You remember I told you this blueberry pie, it likes to bubble up. You'll see some of that happening, but you don't want to clean it up in your oven. So if it falls out of the pie and into the bottom of the oven, that's a big mess, okay, even if you got a self-cleaning oven. So I have a sheet pan, or a half sheet pan really, and I'm going to take my pie and place it on top. I did put some parchment paper that helps cleaning up the sheet pan as well, and place that on there. This also does something else that I want to point out. It's going to take the heat and it's going to evenly divide it. So now you have a little bit of a barrier that your oven, so that it heats up entirely. So this pan will get hot and then the flat will get hot, and so this pie will bake even better up from like that. Now, one thing you want to point out, in my recipe I do say to check it after about 20 minutes. If you start to see the edges getting a little bit more brown than the center, take some foil and just fold it up and put it around there. The foil will act as a reflector, and it will reflect the heat, and it won't burn the edges, because you want the pie to look attractive as well, because you know it's going to taste good. So it's ready to go in our preheated oven. Okay, it's time to put the pie in the oven, and I always like to say this, and especially again if you have young people working with you, open the oven, but don't stick your hand or head in there right away. I usually say count to 3. So open it up, 1, 2, 3, The hot air is rushing out, and now it's safe to go ahead and place the pan into the oven. Like that. And we'll close it, and we'll set our timer for 20 minutes. Okay, our timer just went off, which means our pie has been in the oven for 20 minutes. Now we want to check on it. Let's just open the oven again, count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to pull out our pie. And look at that, pie bird is just doing its job. Isn't that? Oh my goodness. Now, I wanted to look at the crust. If I thought it was too brown, I would take some foil, fold it, and cover it, but I think right now it's doing pretty good. So we'll just let it stay in there, but our pie is just looking so gorgeous. All right, back in the oven. Now I have to turn the temperature down to 350, and I'm gonna put it in there for another 20 minutes, and I'm gonna check it. What I'm gonna check for is the flakiness of the crust. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll get started. Okay, I believe our pie is ready. Let that hot air get out, and we'll just reach in. It's still bubbling. Oh my goodness, I love it. Oh, perfect. Let's go ahead and bring this over to the counter so you can get a better look at it. And our pie bird has done its job. As you can see, a little bit of bubbling of the blueberry, but that's what blueberry pie is supposed to look like. Crust came out beautiful golden brown. I didn't need to put any strips of aluminum on it. Smells divine. Oh my goodness. You know you can't eat it right now because it's so hot. You'll burn your whole mouth for life. So we're gonna let it cool, set it off to the side, and hope nobody comes in and steals a piece behind our backs. Now, you have any comments about blueberry pie? Definitely, if you want to share them, let us know. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. That's so important because we want to share more recipes with you. We want to hear your comments. You know that the recipes are in the description below, so you can get this recipe as well as all our other recipes that we're going to share with you. And as always, I want you to know this, that our recipes are not only simple, but they are delicious.